You're listening to the Gender Reveal Party podcast. I'm your host, Jay Pryor. This isn't your usual gender reveal party. There will be no baby sex parts. This is the real reveal, where we reveal gender through stories of brave humans willing to share their lived experience. Enjoy the listening. I sure enjoy making it. Welcome to the Gender Reveal Party. I'm Jay Pryor, your host, and I'm really grateful to have with me today my friend Luc. As I've mentioned in my introduction, I didn't have to look any further than my own friends to bring this conversation to you. And this guy, gosh, Luc, first of all, welcome to the Gender Reveal Party, friend.
Thank you.
Nice to see you. How long have we been friends?
I don't know. I don't even know.
I don't even know either.
I don't. And I
I
was
don't
sitting,
either.
when I got up this morning, I was like, oh my God, how long have we really known each other?
Yeah. I moved back here in 2007. So I think we met in like 2008 or 2009. I don't know. When did you start hanging out and speaking on panels?
Well, I want to say 2009.
Yeah. So I'm
Maybe
guessing
sooner
2000.
than that.
I think I was at your first panel.
Yeah. Because, it was before. Okay. So it was before Paula Kaiser was still living. So
Yep.
How long ago was that?
Oh, yeah. I don't. Good Lord.
Yeah.
That question.
That's a long time.
It's been a long time. So
Yeah.
Luc and I have been friends for a long time, and how we became friends, and we mostly are like, we're not friends who like hang out a lot or see each other. We have a very unique friendship that was birthed out of us being on panels together. So in Kansas, we used to go around to small towns all over Kansas. And I talk about this in my show. And we would do transgender conferences. Like we'd put, like you basically, and when Stephanie Mott was with us, God rest her soul. So anyway, that's how I met Luc. And we've listened to each other tell our stories over and over again. So I could probably tell you his story and he could probably tell you my story, or at least the ones we presented to people each time we spoke, because we spoke together so many times. But I'd rather you hear it from him. So I want to thank you, my friend, for being here and sharing with us. So
Yeah.
tell us your story.
So as I'm doing it briefly, I guess I can say I was brought up and my upbringing was like the typical Black male. And what I mean by that is that my mom raised me by herself. And then, at 14 months, I was diagnosed with cerebral palsy. So now she's raising me by herself, not over the top with having a child with a disability. And the resources in the 70s were not like they are now. Number one, for children with disabilities, and number two, when I was born, I weighed 2 pounds, 3.5 ounces, and they didn't know if I was going to make it. Because again, they didn't have the resources back then that they do now. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So, and I was born, my dad was in the military, so I was born at Forbes Field Hospital. So, there was that. And my dad I think now that I'm older, I just don't think he was ready to be a father. And I don't think he was ready to do or go through the things that my mom went through with having a child with a disability. He wanted a physically perfect child. And I wasn't. So my mom, my grandma raised me, and I grew up Pentecostal and Baptist, so most of my life was in the church. So everybody that knows Pentecostal and Baptist knows how they feel about the LGBTQ community. I went through from 15 to 19, I want to say, dealing with the foster care system. I was in it. And I knew that there was something about me, but I couldn't put my finger on it. Does that make sense? I couldn't figure out what it was. And that's, I guess, when I discovered, I was attracted to girls. I knew that part. And then I moved out. I got out on my own and did what I needed to do to survive. but more and more there was that thing that was there that I couldn't shake. And I did what I did on a level to not embarrass my mom or my grandmother. So that's when people ask me, why did it take you so long to come out? I didn't want to embarrass my mom and my grandmother, two women who I respected and loved, regardless of what we had been through. So I finally came out to my mom as a lesbian, and she was okay with that. That was good. Not a problem. She already knew, basically. And then I started performing. Oh God, I want to say I started performing again in 2006. I want to
Okay,
say.
so I'm gonna pause for just a second because right now, for just listening, our
Okay.
audience has no idea that you were assigned female at birth
Oh,
until you said came out as a lesbian.
sorry.
So
Forgot
just
to
to
say
be
that part.
clear,
Yeah. So I was assigned female at birth.
right?
My apologies. Yeah, I was assigned female at birth. And my mom explained to me that those were three things, three strikes. African American, physically challenged, and as I said, I was assigned female at birth.
Right. And so at this point, you come out as a lesbian and you
Mhm.
said you just started performing. So I want to make sure people understand that when you say performing, you're talking about doing drag king performances.
Yes.
Okay. So I want to make sure that our audience is clear
Okay.
because that's part of your story is your drag king in
Yes.
your family that you
Yeah.
created. So I really want to make sure
Um,
they get that.
okay. So yes, I started out when I was performing as a male impersonator.
Got it.
But I had been performing in Topeka longer than that.
Mm.
Because believe it or not, there were a couple of older entertainers that were live singers, but I was live singing also.
Mm.
So before I even got into the male impersonation, I guess I was what you call a diva, I guess.
Mm.
Because that wasn't impersonation. That was just me doing my thing.
Mm.
And then I quit because I allowed someone who said something very nasty to me to affect me. And then I quit. And then my drag mother said, I want you to come back and perform, but I want you to come back as the king. And I said, okay. And, I started doing that. Um, Earned 9 titles doing that. Yeah. Um, and I am the current reigning Mr. Black Trans Kansas.
Nice.
So that's exciting for me.
Mm-hmm.
But performing, I'm not sure what happened and what did it, but when you're a drag king, you have to bind and you pack. Not all kings pack, but some of us do. And I'm one of the ones that did. And I came home from my very first show of being a male impersonator, and it just felt like I didn't want to unbind and I didn't want to unpack because there was something about it that just felt like it was supposed to be, like it was natural.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, okay, this is past drag. And like I've heard so many other presenters say, I didn't know the word transgender. I didn't know any of that. I didn't know, you know what I mean? I didn't know non-binary. I didn't know binary. I didn't know any of that. So someone said, hey, probably ought to talk to Stephanie Mott. And that was my first interaction. That's how I got to her because somebody referred her to me.
I see.
And we talked through email first. She helped me be able to tell my mom. And so I did. So that's where I came out to my mom as lesbian because that's where I thought I was.
Got it.
When I did my first drag show as a king, it just, I don't even know how to put that into words. It just felt like it was supposed to be.
I get that.
Not something I did on stage, but it felt like something I was supposed to just, because it was that comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
So I really started emailing Stephanie back and forth to talk about some different terminology. And then in 2010, January 2010, I started taking the blockers, the estrogen blockers. because I was still going through the process of seeing the endocrinologist, and you know what I mean.
Hmm.
So I started taking estrogen blockers, and then I want to say a month or so after that, I was seeing an endocrinologist, and I was on testosterone because I started on andro gel first, and then the other one, Exeron, the deodorant Exeron. And I just had a conversation with somebody about medical terminology. So what happened is somebody used the word in my paperwork transgender instead of HRT. And my insurance people sent me a letter and said, we're not paying for the testosterone, we're not paying for it. And so that's how I got on shots. Because they wrote me the letter, but they CC'd a copy of it to my endocrinologist. So everybody was on one accord. And that's how I started my medical journey. I always tell my kids that I struggled. I did the work to get bitterness and anger out of my system from past trauma and abuse or whatever. And so when I got in tune with my star player, I feel like God blessed me with a family, and the family formed itself.
Right.
The ready-made family.
So when you say talk to your kids, I want to make sure people understand what you're talking about. So you have a house and you have children.
I do.
And it's in the same tradition. And I had a former guest on right before you actually will be. And we talked a little bit about the idea that if people really want a description of this, if they watch Pose on TV,
yes,
then they would understand at a deeper level,
right.
probably because they got all these episodes. But you have a house that you created, and you're a drag dad.
Mm-hmm.
Got it. I don't want
I started out as
clarification there.
Yeah. And so I started out as a drag dad.
Mm-hmm.
I did. And then there was a couple of my boys that were kind of waiting for me to go through the medical journey before they did it. They wanted to see the process and what happens. And so once I did it, I had two other boys that came after me. And so the ones that have legally changed their names, they use my last name. Mm-hmm. So they are officially my adopted children. Mm-hmm. And like I said, this family formed itself. I felt like it was a blessing for me because I had gotten I did the work. Mm-hmm. And I got into my star player. I learned to love me. And it was just like all these individuals came into my life for one reason or another. I love them unconditionally. They love me back. And they give me headaches just like I give them headaches probably. But I wouldn't change it for the world.
Of course. Yeah. How many kids do you have now?
Like by last name or drag
well,
house?
How many young people do you have living in your house that you help take care of at this point?
I probably have it started out as 78 entertainers altogether. I probably have like maybe 50 now. But like maybe 10 or 15 of those have an interaction every day. Mm-hmm. They either call me, text me, or something to that manner. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. What COVID didn't help not being able for them to not be able to perform. Right. And for some of them, it's therapy. So slowly but surely.
Yeah. And some of them don't have other homes, right? They don't have families to go back to. They don't have parents who are supportive. They don't have any of that.
Well, if you've seen Paris is Burning, my drag house is based off of old school rules, not new school rules, old school rules. And some of my kids, when they didn't have nowhere to go, they stayed in my house, and right. I feed them. Like we do dinners, family dinners, and I cook, and they come and eat, and we talk about things. But those houses were formed for people who didn't have any, who were either homeless or on the streets. and just they came out to their families, and their families like, you can't be here.
Mhm.
So that's how houses initially form.
Yeah. 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 How did it go with your mom when you transitioned?
My mother was, she was wonderful. Did we have a bumpy situation with it? Yes, we did. So she just needed to know that I was going to be okay.
Mhm.
And so the two words I use, I think a lot of people, if there are any people of color that are going to watch this, don't understand what I mean. My mom was from the revolutionary side of the of the civil rights movement.
Mhm.
Yes, she had respect for Martin Luther King, but my mom was the revolutionary. So she was sort of kind of on the Malcolm X side,
Mhm.
if that makes sense.
Mhm.
She, in her mind, when I came out to her as trans, what she was thinking was, all right, over all the things that you're going to have to battle and fight, now you're putting black male over the top of it. You know what I mean? And she
That's
said,
fair.
yeah, I mean, that's the thing she thought of. That's the first thing she thought of was, do you know what? Do you know what this means?
Right.
And once she did the research, when I first got all my shots, she wanted to know what the name of the shot was so she could research it,
Mhm.
so she would know what was happening to my body.
Mhm.
Um, she just, she was, I think what upset her the most was me becoming a black male. I think that's what upset her the most. And we
And
had
how's that been for you?
man, it's been an experience I wouldn't change for the world, but I still get the stares, and I don't even know how to drive, but I have been in a car that's been pulled over. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Uh, and I can't put that feeling into words. I did a presentation for the police academy not too long ago, where the cadets, and talked to them about how to deal with when you encounter a trans person or when you pull them over. That's a scary thing. I still go through it. I still go through people watching me when I go to the store, like legit going down each aisle that I go down. Uh, Comes with the territory. I'm not saying it's okay. I'm just saying comes with comes with the territory, you know. And I think my mom was very much terrified. That was her thought, you know.
Sure.
So,
Yeah, 100%. It makes perfect sense. She's got a lot of experience with how black men get treated in this country. So firsthand.
mhm.
Yeah.
And
Anything else you want to share with our audience?
Black Trans Man Inc.
Black Trans Man Inc.
Black Trans Man Inc.
Right. Especially,
I
yes, it's so important. Talk
I
about that. Let's talk about that.
okay. So may she rest in peace. Paula Kaiser forwarded me an email, and she said, "I think this is more your speed." And I open it, and there's a picture of Carter Brown, and I'm like, okay, what is this? So I go to read it. I go right to the website. I find the Facebook group, and I just interacted. The first year that I went to conference, because they do a conference every year. The first year that I went to that conference, I walked into a room full of people that looked like me, and they had experiences that matched mine. They understood what I meant when I said, I'm having a hard time with people accepting and certain phrases that I used that come from families of color, and they could relate. Um, and when I left there and I got back here, I had text messages and phone calls that said, "You need to call me and let me know you've made it home," and just stuff like that. And so that was it. I was hooked. And so I went back the next year and I talked to them about doing, can Kansas have a chapter, a BTMI chapter? And, there were some things I needed to go through and look at and make sure that I'm going to be definite or permanent. And so here we are. I think they just last year, if we would have been able to have our conference, that would have been 10 years.
Wow, 10 years.
Yeah, BTMI has been around for 10 years.
That's awesome.
So I've been with them. They've been good to me. And I tell people at the conference, what they do is they help me educate non-people of color about trans people of color.
Yeah.
It's been an experience, and they're my family, and I'm spoiled. But educationally, we just keep educating.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people, not of color, they don't understand why so many Latin and African American trans women are being killed. There's some trans guys too. I have to include that. There have been some trans guys that have been killed too.
Yeah, but I mean, do you want to speak to that world of why Black trans women are targeted so heavily?
I think that it is because, number one, because what is the desired gender, regardless of whatever's going on, whether you're straight, gay, or whatever, the desired gender is feminine or cisgender females or trans women. I think that when people that they're dealing with discover their whatever, the people that want to be involved with them, I guess they have a moment, and it's what do you call impulse thing, which it's just, I don't know. I feel for my sisters, I really do, because they have it tougher.
Yeah. Well, I think my perspective from being given white male privilege overnight, like just handed it, I got very clear that being a man is the number one thing in the world, and so then to have anybody who was a man willingly give that up, like just turns them into like a no person for people. Like to give up your manhood and then to be Black. I mean,
over the top of that,
right?
So,
yes, add Black, add color to somebody who willingly gave up being a man and is gonna, it's that whole idea, that Puritan ideology of the man being the sacred being, just as, but yeah, I think that's a lot of it too, from my perspective.
Yeah.
Is that they just, men are number one, and why would you ever give that up? And you're sick if you do.
Absolutely.
Unworthy of a life, essentially.
Yeah.
Sick, sad stuff. So yeah. And so I mean, I love when I met you, and I met you I think I knew you pre Black trans, yes, right? Because we know each other for a long time. Because I remember when you discovered that, and I felt so happy for you. Right. And I was like, we have to tell every Black trans man I know, because because I remember that feeling at my first Butch Femme Bash. Right. I mean, I went to this Butch Femme Bash, and still I attend with trans men and their femmes, and like that world of just, there's something about meeting somebody that you're just like, holy smokes, you are me. Right, you've lived my life. Right, you, and when, especially in our worlds, when we're starving for that. Right, I mean, you didn't see yourself on TV when you were growing up. You didn't see yourself. Still don't see you on TV. You know what I mean?
It's getting better.
It's getting better, but still, I mean, trans men are not on TV, and Black trans men are nowhere. Right?
Well,
I mean,
there
even
is
the
a
ones.
Black trans
Is there a
guy.
Black man's trans actor?
Yes.
Cool.
Actually, so the show 911.
No, but
hey, so there's a series called 911 done by Ryan Murphy, and then the other one is called Lone Star 911. There's a Black trans man on that show.
Nice.
I can't remember. I think he's from oh God, what is that movie? The documentary, The Aggressives. Have you ever
Hmm.
seen that?
Mm-mm, mm-mm.
Okay. So The Aggressives deals with the different types of stone butchers there are.
Oh, okay.
And so in the documentary, he was on his way to the military.
Oh,
I
huh.
think his name is it Marquise? No, that's not him. It's the other black trans guy. But
Yeah.
there is a black trans guy on that show. There's two
It's
of
the
them.
other black trans.
There's two of them. There's two
There's two
actors
of
that.
you on the planet.
Yes, there's two. Well, I mean,
I'm just teasing you. Yes.
I know, but I know there's more trans women in the entertainment business of actor and
Yes.
actresses than there are trans
Trans
men.
men. Right.
I do get that. I think his
Yeah.
name is Brian Michaels. Brian
Yeah.
Michael.
Yeah. I don't know. No, we'll have to go look
Um,
him up. We'll have to
yes.
tag him on that. We'll tag him on this video.
So he's amazing, and I was really happy to see a black trans actor, black trans male actor,
Yeah.
mainstream into
Yeah.
a show like that. You know
Right.
what I mean?
Right.
Um,
Because kids need to see themselves. We didn't see ourselves in anybody.
true, true,
I
true.
mean, even as a young lesbian, I was out way before uh, Ellen or any of those people. You know what I mean? Like, I remember going to see Ellen when she was doing a stand-up comedy in Kansas City, and me
Mm,
and three of my sister and two of my other lesbian friends, and we were like, we know you're gay. Like
right.
we knew. I mean, come on. But we did. There was nobody on TV like us. There's
And
nobody
then
on
Orange
TV at
is the
all.
New Black happened,
Right.
and then that was my first time ever hearing or seeing Laverne Cox because I didn't know anything about her
Mm-hmm.
because
Mm-hmm.
what I
Me neither.
knew was like Drag Race. I mean RuPaul
Right. We
from
had
the
RuPaul.
drag
Right.
situation.
Yep.
Right. And then now look at where RuPaul is like on top of things. And then there's people like uh Flame Monroe and T.S. Madison. And they
I
both
don't even know
have
who those
YouTube.
people are.
They have
YouTube
both have
channels. Yeah.
YouTube channels.
Oh yeah.
And T.S. Madison, she's very outspoken and very verbal and
Yeah.
but she's an amazing individual. She's the trans woman that says that's not how this goes. It goes this way.
Nice.
So she's very verbal.
Yeah.
You'll have to check out her YouTube page.
Yeah. For sure. My trans child does a lot of YouTube looking, and I mean, there's so many like gay boy makeup tutorials and
Yeah.
all the
Oh yeah, yeah,
things
yeah.
today. Today,
Yeah.
kids don't have to go very far. They can find themselves at least a lot easier online because they don't have to just rely on. For me, it was three channels I had
Right.
growing up.
And there's
ABC,
trans
NBC, and
guys,
CBS. That was it.
yeah. The trans guys that go on YouTube and show you how to do your own shots. And
Right.
so
Things like that. There's all kinds of stuff we can access
yeah.
today. So good stuff. Anything else you'd like to share with our listeners?
I don't know. I guess I want to say that I can end with a quote that says, there is no shortcut to achievement. Um, but we have to keep educating. We have to keep educating. Even if they go, we don't want to hear that. We have to keep educating.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you know the controversy surrounding Dave Chappelle, but we have to keep educating.
I don't know the controversy surrounding Dave Chappelle.
He's in
Was
trouble
like,
because he said some things.
oh, yeah.
And my sisters came for him like,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I'm sure they did.
I'm just saying they just was like, oh no, no, sir.
Oh,
This is
no.
not how this works. And I was like, oh, okay.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's good. He's
Yeah,
got a big audience. So,
he does.
we'll get people talking about it.
Yeah.
That's the most important thing, I think, is just having conversations. And I just want to acknowledge and appreciate you, my friend. You and I have done a lot of work together, a lot of educating together, and neither
Yeah.
one of us are stopping.
Oh
And
no, no.
right. And you're always in that, you and I have always been aligned in that world of we're just going to love the transphobia out of you. We're going to keep sharing
Mm-hmm.
our stories. We're going to just keep telling you our story and keep making you love us and keep showing up.
Absolutely.
And so
Absolutely.
I just want to thank you again for being my partner in that.
Anytime.
And while we miss Stephanie, we are blessed with the fact that she introduced me to you. So
Yeah.
I have that, and we will forever have our Kansas small town
Oh yeah.
trans conferences. I'm telling you, people, sometimes there were 4 people there, right? Remember that time we went? I think there was 7 once and there was 4 once.
Yeah. But we
We
did it
still did
anyway.
it, right? We did it anyway.
No,
We did.
we
We
did it
told our
anyway.
stories to 4 people, right? And educated 4 people in a
Absolutely.
tiny town. So I feel like, we did our part in that way. I like to believe that our work back then, especially,
Hmm.
is a part, especially we were in tiny towns in Kansas in
Yeah.
the years of 2009, 10, right? And so now in 2021, those kids are coming out in college, and those kids are, I just like to believe that we had something to do with this level of
Oh
outness that
yeah.
these young people are experiencing. So,
I agree with that. But there still needs to be more resources in Kansas for the youth
oh yeah,
because
yeah. No, we're not done.
it's it's
We're
very
not even
slim.
close to done. Kansas has got a long way to go, for sure, for sure, absolutely.
And maybe more people of color in certain organizations.
Oh, a
Just
lot more
throwing that
people
out
in
there.
color in all the organizations.
Yeah.
My whole thing is I'm just done with white people over 50 running things. Like, I just want young people of color, like they're always getting my vote. So
Yeah.
we just elected 2 people of color to our city commission. We have our most diverse ever. So I'm super
Oh
excited. 2
wow.
Black people, and I'm like, yes. So it's a step in the right direction, right?
Yeah, we got to keep
Baby
pushing for that.
steps.
Yeah, yes, baby steps. Baby steps are good.
Yeah, remain steady.
Hmm.
Yeah. All right, buddy. Well, it's great to see you. Thanks again for being on the gender reveal party. Thanks for coming and really revealing some gender instead of not talking about baby sex parts here. So, I appreciate having you and for being my friend.
And thanks for having me.
Hey, thanks for listening to the Gender Reveal Party podcast. I hope you loved it. And if you did, would you take a second and go do all the things like subscribe, rate, review, tell all your friends? Apparently, if you do that, the podcast platforms are more likely to share it. And if you think these stories are important, please take 3 minutes to just go do that. I'd really appreciate it. Also, I'd love to connect with you on social. On Instagram and Facebook, I'm at the Gender Reveal Party, and on Twitter, I'm at Prior J. It's a real joy and privilege to bring you this podcast. Come back soon. Love you, bye.